I did not have a adapter to go from 3/4 inch pipe thread to 3/4 inch garden hose, but I found this in my bag, and it does have a garden hose attachment. I'm not even sure that's an adapter, but it's on there. We're going to use it. We'll be able to test this thing out like this. Okay. Now I'm going to put the pressure tank on there, and we'll set this thing back down level and see if we can get it turned on. Before I attach the hose manifold to this, I'm going to turn on the dry pipe and see if we can even get it to cycle. I have the outlet valve shut. Let's see what happens here. Well, it's sort of cycling. It's a very slow cycle. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to need 2 hands. I'm going to secure this pump and maybe turn that valve a little bit to the side and see if we can't get it to open and close a little quicker. Something seems out of whack with this thing. I've only got the valve halfway open, you know, my outlet, my delivery line halfway open, and it's acting funny. This seems worse than it was before. It is coming out of my hose up there, but it's a very small stream. I think putting a smaller check valve below the pressure tank made it worse. Of course, these are old parts that I've already retired, but it just doesn't feel right. We'll give it a little while here. See how long it's taken to cycle now. I may go ahead and put a 3/4 inch waste valve on here. Then I have a 3/4 inch system, see how it works. Come back tomorrow and start over with this thing. I would like to get a pool full of water so I can irrigate Saturday. We're not expecting any rain until Monday. Yeah, it has just slowed down and stopped. I think I've got a 3/4 inch stainless steel. Now it's starting back up by itself. Yeah, I may try that stainless steel 3/4 inch check valve and put it here at the very back end. I didn't get much use out of that after I bought that stainless steel deal. It didn't want to work. It was like it took too much water to open and close it. But I think we're going to give it a try right now. That stainless steel waste valve does not want to cycle. I have to turn it way over. I don't know about this. I'm going to try a regular 3/4 inch valve, a brass one, and see what it does. Well, that 3/4 inch brass check valve wants to gallop like a scared horse. I'm going to try straightening it up and see if we can't slow that thing down. If not, I'll look around for another brass 3/4 inch check valve. This one may just be one of those lightweight deals I found. Okay, well, we're making some changes anyhow. That one's cycling a little better now that I straightened it up. But it's an old check valve, one I've discarded in the past. So I'm not sure it's sealing properly. But if I can just get this thing to keep pumping overnight, that'll make me sort of happy until I can get some new parts down here and just maybe totally rebuild this thing. But anyhow, I know this seems like a lot of trial and error that you've been through today with me, but you know, you may come up with a problem like this. This may just give you some ideas of some things you might want to try to get your problem solved. I don't think my problem's solved, but at least it's clicking. It doesn't act like it's going to stall. Alright, I'm going to try opening up this delivery line and see what kind of fiasco this turns out to be. Right, that's about 50% right there. We'll let it run like that for a few minutes. Camera did some flip-flops there. I don't have my glasses with me, so I can't read any of the stuff on this little screen. But anyhow, I've got it open about 75%, and so far it has not missed a beat. There's not that much water coming out of that hose up there, but it's not pulsing. It's coming out steady, whatever is coming out. We're going to go all the way here. Open it up full blast. Run it that way for a few minutes. If that works, I'm going to start on this other hose, the one that goes up to my house. Well, that seems to be working just fine. So I'm going to turn off this valve and start opening up my delivery line to the house. We'll start about 50%. I'm going to tell you, I never would have been able to do all this swapping around with my horizontal round pump. Everything has to be balanced perfect with that. So here I've got a 1-inch drive pipe, and half the fittings on the pump itself are 1 inch and the other half are 3/4 inch. It seems to be functioning. This gives me more options when it comes time to fine-tune this thing. I don't think I'm doing any better than it was yesterday. Probably a little worse, but I just want something that's not going to turn off after 15 or 20 hours. I think the entire water table is down. You know, there's a creek that comes in through there, and another one over here by my ladder. And there's all kinds of little water sources, but even with all that, this creek is barely over 1 inch deep. Most of the year it stays more than 2 inches deep. All that don't matter that much, but if that's down, then I'm sure my spring is low too. And it might not seem like much, but you know, you lose 2 inches of head, that's more than a foot of lift you have. That head really makes a difference. You've got a 7-to-1 ratio. So if I had 3 feet, I could expect to go 21 feet high with the water. That's not 3 feet, that's 2.5 feet, but it makes a difference how much water is on top of that intake too. All right, let's go. I don't know, I'll smoke a cigarette, or an e-cigarette, and then come back here in a minute and open this valve up a little more. Okay, that's 75% open. She's clicking hard. not being shy about cycling. Give it a few more minutes, we'll go for 100%. Well, you know what they say about a blind squirrel. We might have found us an acorn here. And that's as wide open as I can get that delivery line. She seems like she's kicking good. I'm going to go ahead and tie this thing up to my cinder block. Go home and see what's coming out up at my irrigation pool. Do a rain dance and pray for a hurricane. We haven't had one this year. I think that's what we need. Alright, signing off for now. That ain't much. That's better than nothing. That might be all I can get out of that little spring pool down there this time of year. I think we got some rain Monday. We'll see. Monday or Tuesday. That's a few days from now. If that pool fills up, I might go down there and put the 1-inch hardware back on the pump. Well, I'll just be happy if this thing's still pumping by morning. Man, this is the video that never ends. I'm still messing around with that ram pump down in the ditch. I was hoping to wrap all that up in 3 or 4 days, but then we had some weather come along. So I just wanted to wait and see. And yeah, we had a little over 2 inches of rain out of the hurricane that came through eastern North Carolina. It was very mild up here, but we did get 2.5 inches of rain over a 3-day period. And as you can see, I'm watering my yard right now. My pool, my reservoir is full, so I've aerated and overseeded. I'm getting everything wet. You saw a lot of the changes I made to the ram pump, switching out check valves and stuff like that. Yeah, that was pretty interesting, and in some circumstances it might have made a big difference. But I'm more and more convinced that my problem is that when we don't get rain, the water table gets low and the spring is just not producing enough water in its pool to keep me satisfied up here. You can see how shallow this creek is. If it wasn't for that little spring pool at the top of those rocks, I would have a very difficult time harnessing enough water to run my ram pump. I've been out here messing with this thing for 2 or 3 weeks now, and I'll go ahead and add those clips as soon as I press this button. You'll see some of the things I did to my ram pump, modifications I've made, and they all helped, but nothing really solved my problem until now. It's now early September. I think this is September the 9th. And after numerous modifications to my ram pump, I've come up with this idea right here. I normally try to have a what I call a vertical ram pump as opposed to a linear or a horizontal ram pump, because I love a vertical type ram pump, and I've even made videos about why. It's easy to start and you don't have to have a lot of back pressure to keep it going. But because I don't have a strong inflow of water, what I had to do was switch it over to a linear type style, which allowed me to lower my pressure tank. My pressure tank's lower to the water as opposed to being way up high. And I've switched everything back to 1 inch. I've got a 1-inch dry pipe. I've got a 1-inch check valve. It's a swing type check valve. That's not a pressure check valve. And I've got it cut down to 3/4 of an inch garden hose thread there at the exit. And I reduced it from 1 inch to 3/4 inch going into my pressure tank. The other thing I've had to do is lean that darn waste valve over about 40 degrees, to be honest about it. If I straighten it up, it'll just sit there and water will ease on out the top of it. It won't click. So I've gone from getting 20 to 25 gallons an hour up at the pool to getting maybe 10 gallons per hour, but that's better than nothing. And I'm just going to leave this here like this until we get enough rain to get my pool going a little better. And then I'll switch back to the other type of ram pump. I wish I had a situation where I could just draw water off into a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket or something, and that way I would have, you know, a steady amount of water above my intake filter, because I do believe that hydrostatic pressure plays a big role in how a ram pump functions. Even when I was doing my test up at the house, once that barrel started getting low, the ram pump would often turn off, you know, when I still had 2 or 3 inches of water over the intake. So anyhow, even though it looks like my pool is pretty much full at this point, I just can't afford to take more water out than I am right now, because it'll start dropping. All right, I'm going to close this out. It's been a really long video, but I hope it gives you some ideas if you're having a problem with low water in your creek and your ram pump keeps stopping. First thing I would try doing is maybe tilt your waste valve over. Let me show you how to do that. You want it to lean in the direction of the outflow. In other words, you want the hinge to be on the back side of the lean. That way the valve is almost already closing. If you have a 1-inch ram pump and it just won't keep going and leaning, it's not solving your problem, but it is helping your problem, you may want to try replacing your 1-inch waste valve with a 3/4 inch waste valve. All you have to do is get a little collar that reduces 1 inch down to 3/4 inch, and you'll be able to screw it right on there. And that helped me too for a while. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, hopefully on a positive note. I'm at least getting some water out of my ram pump, better than nothing. So it may take me, I may only be able to irrigate once every day, day and a half, as opposed to twice a day. But I hear some thunder. We recently had Hurricane Idalia, I pronounce it like the sweet onion, Idalia, come through and brought me 2.5 inches of rain in 2 days. That's better than nothing. And now I hear the thunder in the distance. We got Hurricane Lee inching up to the north. It's still a long ways away, but even if it misses the coast of North Carolina, hopefully it'll bring a little bit of rain here to the center part of the state. So, things keep going like this, I'll be reseeding my yard in about another week or 2. I just want to make sure I have enough water to keep it going for the first couple of weeks. Appreciate you guys watching. After several weeks of scratching my head and my other head, I think we may have found a way around the problem of low water table. I'm using a linear style ram pump now. It has a 1-inch waste valve and the valve is towards the front. I'm also using a 1-inch swing type check valve to go to the pressure tank. And this thing has been flowing uninterrupted for 3 days now. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take a measurement to see how much water I'm getting out of this new design. I've got the manifold discharge open 100%, so this is the best I'm going to get out of the linear style ram pump. Let me get set up here and we'll start checking it. If you follow my channel, you know you've seen this analog clock before. I have it set up where I've got numbers written around the perimeter. In other words, if it takes 60 seconds to fill up a 32-ounce cup, I'm getting 15 gallons. Anything better than that is a hoot. 15 gallons an hour. Here we go. Back when I had when everything was going good down at the creek, where I had plenty of hydrostatic pressure and whatever, and I had the vertical style ram pump, the 1-inch ram pump, I was able to get between 20-25 gallons per hour pretty steadily, and sometimes it'd even go up to 30 gallons per hour if we had a little rain. But things are dry right now. So anything over 10, as long as it doesn't keep shutting off, it's going to be satisfactory to me. Okay, we've just passed the 45-second mark, and it looks like we're going to, about 55 to 56 seconds, we were able to get 32 ounces. We're going to call it 60 seconds to get 32 ounces in a cup. So we're getting a steady 15 gallons per hour. Hey, that ain't bad. You multiply that times 24. That's a significant amount of water per day. That's enough to do an irrigation project in your yard. Alright guys, I'm closing this thing out. Three-part series of how to knock your head against the wall trying to keep your pump going. And I'm sure that if I'd had a different situation where I could have modified that spring pool down there, that would have been the easy way to do it, instead of trying to mess around with redesigning my pump. But it's a learning process. Hope you guys take the plunge. If you get you a ram pump, don't just think, hey, I bought this ram pump and now it's not working. No, when you buy a ram pump, that's just the beginning. The fun starts after that, when it quits working. And trust me, it won't take you long to kind of gain some knowledge on how it works and why it works. After that, you'll be designing your own stuff. Well, thanks guys for watching. We're going to get my yard irrigated here, and within the next week, we're going to be planting some new seed.